Hello, and we are live from Arlington, New York. New York. Why am I thinking New York? Arlington, Vermont. The other Arlington. One of the many Arlingtons. Not to be confused to Arlington, Texas. Arlington, the most famous Arlington, Virginia. This is Arlington, Vermont. And this is Happy Valley Hobbies. And these are hobbies that make me happy. And today is basically might be more of the sort of the aftermath of the Amherst show. Of course, I have it pointed this way, but yes, welcome Del Marra Railfan. If I'm saying that right, I hope I am. You seem to be relatively new, because people that I that are here a lot of times and all that, I usually make them moderators. So if you are here long enough, I know there are some channels that are out there that they see a new person and they automatically add them as a moderator. I don't do that because it's like if they, AKA Jeff. All right, Jeff. I'll do my best to remember that. Thing is, I'm good with names. I'm good with faces. Don't ask me to put them together. And it's sort of the same thing with like with names of channels and whoever they are. I mean, that's why I'm like with John Knopfel. He actually has his name on there, so his name is John. Wigwag Workshop, who is someone who's usually the first person here. Let's see if they are. Wigwag showed up first. Yes. Hey there, folks. All right. The thing is that it's one of those things I can't quite remember. I know his name, but I can't remember it off the top of my head because it's not it's not obvious. So, and let's see. It says it's 6 are watching. All right, so that means 4 of you are lurking. Oh, wait a second. One's me. Never mind. Steven. All right. Well, it's one of those things that you gotta sort of kind of. I need to sort of like use it constantly, saying Steven, 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 and then eventually it sort of gets in my head. I mean, like with John from Schuylkill Valley Railway. It's one of those things that everyone calls him John too, I believe, because apparently there's a lot of Johns in this fun community. So usually it's like, hey, John, it's like you're bound to hit. There's a good chance you turn around and actually hit the person that you're aiming for. But there's also a lot of some people are so well known by their handle that you don't really know what their what their actual name is. But there are some that do sort of let people know what they're doing, like Heath from Humanity Junction. A lot of I think there was a time that they were blaming Heath for, I forgot exactly what the story was, but they were constantly blaming Heath for something. So he came out with Blame Heath t-shirts. So that's why I sort of kind of know Heath's name from Humanity Junction, because he actually has that. I'm actually turning around and I'm thinking maybe for next year's Amherst, buy a Blame Heath t-shirt and all that, and wear that, because it was Heath that was sort of suggesting I start a YouTube channel. I was sort of kind of mid-pandemic. I was unemployed at the time, so I'm like, I got the setup because of I was helping out with New Tracks Modeling, being the guy, sort of the guy in the chair in the background, switching things up. Well, hello there, Dwight from Curly Express. Here's another channel that says, it's Curly Express, but his name is Dwight. Uh, yeah, I've actually, that's why I was, decided to start this channel. I was unemployed, less than a month late, trying to figure out how to do things and all that. Originally using originally using Zoom, because that's what I was doing. That's what I was using while I was doing the uh, uh, Nutrax modeling. But then it became, clear it was Zoom is good for what it's designed for, and it's not quite good enough for streaming. I would have to say it's good as a conference type in setup and all that, but it's not really set up for streaming. It's an option, so it's one of those things that winds up being a I'm trying to think that it's sort of like using a Camaro for a construction site or something like that. It's like, it's like you're trying to run gutters that are 10 foot long. Of course, you got to put it on the roof, and it can do it, but not really well. And that's how I think Zoom is. It's great for if you have lots of people or something like that, doing the same thing, like conventions or something like that online. But as something that's like right now, it's just me, myself, and so it was clunky. So tried out StreamYard, and it's like, all right, I like it, so and that's what I've been using since. I used Zoom for the first year, and then trying other ones, I wound up on StreamYard. And StreamYard is since it's designed to be a streaming service. Oh, hello there, Digger Evans. Since it's designed as a streaming service, where you can do lives, I want to say it's a lot smoother. And then so that's why I sort of like using StreamYard. Now, is it perfect? One thing I don't like is not being able to. I got 3 cameras, and I'm not able to switch between the cameras real easy. You got to go into settings and then turn around and go that direction. Be nice to be able to switch between cameras a little bit easier. But enough of that silliness. One of the things at Amherst, I did wind up talking to different people. Met at the meet and greet. I also met a bunch of people over at the NMRA, because being a member of the NMRA, and I was also hanging out with Soundtracks, trying to get information from them. And the interesting thing is that with Soundtracks, I actually know one of the guys there, not very well. It's one of those things of conversational knowing, of going like, oh, that's who, hey, it's George, because he's also with the American Civil War group that I also hang out with. I didn't see Andy Epstein, because he's the one who introduced me to the Civil War group. Now, I'm not doing the Civil War itself. I'm doing the Centennial, which some of the equipment that was used during the Civil War and all could theoretically be, cars and stuff like that might show up. Well, I'm also trying to do 6-foot broad gauge, so there probably there'd be equipment that would be Civil War era, but it wasn't involved in the Civil War because the 6-foot gauge railways didn't go down that far. But let me switch cameras. Again, this is one thing that I don't like about StreamYard. I just happened to realize something. Let's double check. Yep, got the right microphone. Because every now and then it doesn't recognize the blue snowball that I have. All right, let's see. I should have checked this out to make sure this was the other two cameras are the camera that I have in front here is a HP True Vision HD camera because it's part of the laptop. But the other two USB cameras that I have, they're both set up as live cameras. So sometimes it's like, they usually don't change position, but every now and then they do, which is annoying. So usually I'm making sure that that I change them correctly. Yes, all right. So that is correct. All right. Switching cameras. Now, one thing I am trying to figure out is a better way to have the overhead camera. Because unfortunately, it's not directly attached, but it is connected to my blue screen. So that's why when I change over, that's why it bounces. But well, let me show some of the things that I have recently gotten. Now, I didn't get these at Amherst, but the Civil War group did have a thing where we can buy new shirts and all that. So this is the logo. I've got a T-shirt and for the slightly more formal occasions, one of the I forgot what they're called, but it's like it has the little pocket on the side, and which from what I understand can wind up being useful for operations, because then you can turn around and use the pocket for holding the uncoupling tools. All right, let's put that there. Now, one thing that I did. All right, that's annoying. Did wind up getting stickers, and I think I might have did something with the stickers. Did they? I got a whole bunch of stickers, and I could only find one, and it's here. Huh. Well, there they are. I think I met Chris last year, but he didn't have stickers before. And that's what probably I'll wind up doing this year, is actually having someone design me a sticker and go from there. Here's somebody else, which I'm blanking out on their name. Oh, North Region Railroad Prototype Modelers. Saw them there. They had their own booth. Didn't really talk to anybody there, but at the YouTuber meet and greet. Did wind up with Almar, somebody I always see in the chat, but this is the first time actually meeting him in person, and that's one of those things of it's nice going to the meet and greets, because then you can actually, there's a person behind the screen. Then there's just the Pixel Depot. If I remember, I think he was there last year, but again, like Chris from the Mount Train, Mount Aficionado, didn't have stickers last year. This one I think is somebody new that I came across. Obviously, N scale. Also, I want to say Canadian, but they're releasing models Canada. I don't think he's actually Canada. And then there's this one, Muscula Central, which is well, I know that obviously he does Canadian National. I'm not quite sure what that logo's for, but this is ITLA, which is a company that makes a lot of laser kits. This is not one of them. This is Hunterline. And then the farthest person I came across to see was American. I know his name because a lot of people can't say it as American, so they usually call him Artie because he has Artie on the end. So, yes, I got to meet Artie. He actually handed me the sticker. The funny thing is that one of the funny things is that he was unfolding a flag and all that, and I sort of teasingly said, "Oh, that's interesting. It's a New Zealand flag." He would not do that. I'm not sure if he was, sort of like angrily annoyed, genuinely, or as a yeah, it's a normal mix up or something like that. But next year I am thinking of trying to find some, finding somebody to turn around and make a logo that is probably more roundish. So when you're in chat and all that, you can, sort of see it. But unfortunately, Artie was saying it's like the hardest thing with his is that it doesn't really show up too well in the logo because a good portion of it is cut off. But that's one of the things I'm going to see. I think I know one of the. I think it's Anthony Dodge that actually has his daughter does graphic design and all that. So I might turn around and say, hey, how can we do this so it's something that could be recognizable on a very small icon size or much larger. But that was interesting meeting people along those lines. Ooh, I just remembered something. Hold on 1 second. Didn't really buy much there because I don't need to buy much. I mean, my layout's very small. But one thing I did buy, I was specifically going there to buy, was from Chris at Congarino Models. Basically, their caboose number 5. When you look at it, your thing is, oh, it's just a bobber caboose without the cupola. But actually, if you look at it, it actually has 2 trucks on it, so it's not a bobber caboose. I'm thinking of actually probably redesigning it a little bit to make it into a very small passenger car, because it's 25 foot long, so it would make a caboose. But I'm thinking with using regular bobber caboose for cabooses, and then maybe using this as a quote very short passenger car. And the thing is that I got there was an option that I went with. Assuming he has a deal with LaBelle, and these are Fox pressed trucks. Oh, these are actually already they're pre-assembled, but it's that style of truck, which I'm not quite sure if they're I'm not quite sure the error for these, but I know that they were pressed down for a while, and the reason why I got these is that the bolster in the center can be unscrewed and replaced, because since I'm doing broad gauge, it might be advantageous to be able to widen the trucks. Now, I haven't figured out how to do the wheels yet, because the wheels have to be also lengthened. Looks like looks like LaBelle's is plastic, but something to try to get working on a little bit later. But that's and of course it comes with the Katy couplers, the scale version ones, which I've been kind of always using the 711 styles, which was basically the 714 narrow gauge coupler, but with a longer trip pin on it. So I'll put that with that. Keep everything in the same spot. And yes, that will this will be a future project. Well, the thing is that Artie, he hasn't gone live because he was here in the States on the other side of the big pond. So that's probably the reason why he might not have gone live. And obviously he needs to be wandering home eventually. That's what my take on that is. Somebody else that I wound up meeting, this is their business card. And the interesting thing is with this particular company is that they basically do embroidery and printing. So I threw him asked him a suggestion, or asked about Alco, and he's got 3 separate designs, and of course not the design I'm looking for. So I showed him what I was looking for, and it's like it's a much older thing where they're showing very blocky letters and all that. And he said, "Oh yeah, we can do that, no problem." So as soon as I find out the actual, because this is a a racing jersey of the Alco racing team, because there was a time that Alco built cars, and they used to race cars. So it's one of those things that they had it set up where they could turn around and they would race the car, win the race, and then that would include sales for the next day. And Alco, since they were building cars, one of their chief mechanics was going out and racing one of their cars, and said, "Hey, asked the heads up or the upper brass of, hey, we should have our own racing team." And I think it took a while. It took a little while for to get them to turn around, going like, "Oh, yes, we should be doing this." And so they had an official race car. Wound up being called the BB Nor, which I guess translates to the Black Beast. And the reason I think the reason why they was calling it BB Noblor instead of the Black Beast was basically because when Alco got into car manufacturing, they actually were licensing a French design. It wasn't until later on that they came up with their own, which the Black Beast was based on. Because they started in 2005 and 2009, which the year of the Black Beast. They had gone over to their own style, basically. So that's one of those things that it's one of those things of there's a couple of people from the local cycle cart group is like, "Hey, build one." It's like, and at first I'm like, I don't really want to build it. And then when I found out about the Black Beast, I'm like going like, well, if I actually do start doing anything with cycle carts and all that, that would be the car I'd be building. Basically have this company turn around and make basically copying what the original was. The guy did warn me and said, well, if it's done on a t-shirt, you get the backing and all this, you're going to feel it and all that. And then I showed him a picture and says, well, that to me looks more like a sweatshirt, not necessarily a t-shirt. And then it's like, oh yeah, that does look more. So it's one of those things I said once I, get everything, finding out the exact size and all that fun stuff, we'll go from there. But that is a very, very, very far in the future project if I ever get to it. All right. But there is one project that it's one of those things of I've been sort of, I sort of mentioned what I was planning on doing with the 6-foot gauge stuff. And basically I've had a couple of people that are high in the NMRA that, after talking with them, they're like going like, hey, it's like, you're on the, are you one with speed? I did not realize how tall that guy was, because you normally see him inside a helix. So it's one of those things you can't tell how tall or short a person is. Because the camera could be pointed low on somebody who's short, so it looks them tall, and vice versa. You got somebody that's tall, but they have the camera pointed down. Because there's for the longest time I thought Rick Bailey from False Bailey Railroad and Heath from Humanity Junction were basically the same size. And then apparently Rick showed up one day on Heath's stream, and he's almost a good foot taller. But this right here. This was part of a box of stuff I wasn't originally planning on doing anything with it. I did take it apart just to see, if it worked or something like that. It worked really janky, and one of the plastic wheels or plastic gears had cracked and went into two pieces. This is an older style. I not sure why, but it's the style that the power goes down, goes into a main gear, and then it splits off into two gears, and then the gears on the axle. So that's why if you look at this front side rod, there is a very deliberate slot here. That's not because it's worn; it's actually manufactured that way, and that's so both can spin without binding. And so I'm going to have to make build at least another set of side rods, so it would be the power would be going through this instead of relying on two separate gears. And this is going to be basically, I'm calling this the experiment. This is going to be the first one, which I do my best to broaden the gauge on, so it can work on 6-foot gauge. And I've sort of just picked out this one being the second one. I do have a bunch of these. Again, these from my limited understanding, both these types of models are actually 1/76 scale, not 1/87th. So that's why they're actually larger than they're supposed to be. But then again, broad gauge locomotives are larger than standard gauge. Just like narrow gauge is normally smaller than standard gauge. So that's my thought process on that. Both of these I'm planning on making the cabs wooden and shorter. Probably changing the rear trucks on this to be more HO scale. Probably getting like the label, which you can take the screws out and make them a little bit longer, which of course would then lower this, which is okay. Other modifications, but as of right now, we'll just keep on plug it away with the stuff I already had. Now, with doing the broad gauge stuff, I'm going to see about learning on how to do silly things like editing and all that stuff, because I'm not going to do live. The whole broad gauge stuff I'm going to be doing, that I'm going to record and then edit and go from there, because sometimes, it's like the live stuff is a little long and boring. But this is, I could turn around and actually take out the longer parts. But yeah, pretty much that's. I was only at Amherst for a single day, mainly because, I didn't really. It's one of those things when you are focused on a very small niche, and you don't know very small niche, and it's a niche that's not very well represented. Your shopping goes goes by real fast. Basically, I wasn't looking at the O scale, S scale, N scale, Z scale. I mean, every now and then I would see something going, "Ooh, that's neat," and all that, but it would be sort of less than a minute look at it. But then I would turn around and go on to the next thing. Excuse me. Also, unfortunately, because of work, I pretty much tired. I actually, was so tired that I actually took a power nap in the parking lot. Got in the car, turned it on. It's like I don't even know how quick the nap was, because as soon as I woke up, I'm like, all right. I happened to notice that there's places that were closer. The parking spots that were closest. So I wound up moving parking spots. So when they were getting ready to close, all I had to do was, didn't have to walk as far as to the car. Weather was nice. It's one of those things of earlier with the Civil War shirts. I could have gotten away with wearing one of those shirts and all that, and but the Civil War, I wound up wearing something that was like a T-shirt that was bright yellow. The Civil War stuff is dark green, so I would have blended in a little bit more, I guess. I was going to watch a plumber do his thing on the layout that he was working on at 3:00, but then he said, "Oh yeah, it's going to be in this building and there." And I'm thinking, all right, well, last time I was there wasn't that many. There wasn't that many rare model clubs there and all that. And then this year they were packed all over the place, and I'm like, I have no clue which one he said. So unfortunately, I was not able to say that. Well, hello there, Kyle. Thank you for coming in. You might have to go back to hear all about the Amherst show and some of the small misadventures I went on, and a lot of the encouragement that I got to do the thing with the broad gauge. I actually wound up talking to Speed Moeller. Did not realize how tall he was, because camera angles are funny that way. And he actually said, once I start sending pictures of the appropriate things and all that, make another channel on the Discord. So that was unexpected. It's like first he asked me about, am I on his exchange and all that, and I'm like, yeah. Then he's like, he can turn around and add another channel, and I'm like, okay. So also wound up talking, I guess, the person that's in charge of standards and all that. And right now there is no standard for broad gauge. Narrow gauge, has the small N, and then you figure out the sizes that way. But there's no standard for broad gauge. So the joke is the joke I eventually made of going like, and now for the next heated debate, should it be a W or a B? Because the British just have the Broad Gauge Society, which that is obviously a B. But I don't know. It might be. They might turn around and use the N for non-standard and go that direction, or I honestly don't know. Whatever it's one of those things of whatever the majority agrees upon, I'll go that direction. But right now, doing HOW. The reason why I picked W instead of B for broad gauge is I found on a forum debating, and it was a debate between Proto 48 and OW5, because O gauge is most of the O gauge is actually 5 foot, not standard gauge. So, and that's what that huge debate's about, and so that's why I went with the W, because it was already being pre-used, and so it winds up being how instead of hob. But who knows? but now I've been encouraged to turn around and start advertising for it. So that's what the stuff upon that is. HOU, undetermined. Nice, Kyle. Oh, okay. So I'm assuming it's going to be somebody else tonight on Artie's channel, because I forgot who it was before, but somebody had wound up having access to his YouTube channel so they could do live. Actually, speaking of live, apparently tonight is a very important night for the Sidetrack Sunday group. Apparently, someone has figured out last month that tonight, who is being hosted by Ray Bobel, it's going to be the 200th episode of Sidetrack Sunday, which is being hosted by Ray Bobel, who started the whole Sidetrack Sunday thing. From my understanding, Ray started it first, and he was just, I guess pretty much doing what I'm doing, just saying that, hey, this is what I'm doing now, and just puttering along. And then, if I remember correctly, and he was doing it once a month. He's still doing it once a month. And what had happened is that from there, his John from Schuylkill Valley Railroad went and said, hey, would you mind if I do one of the other days? And Ray's like, it doesn't matter to me and all that. So then it was Ray and John for a while. And if I'm remembering how things went, I think it was the Train Freak next that said, hey, can I, take up another spot? And I think then it was Humanity Junction. And then Heath from Humanity Junction asked Rick from the False Valley Railroad to basically take up the odd Fridays. And I think that was on us, or that's, I believe, is the history. I could be completely wrong. They might explain it on tonight's show, but as I was showing earlier, I did actually meet up with Artie. He gave me a sticker. I did sort of joke. He actually turned around and had a flag, and he put it on, and I jokingly said, "Oh, cute! That's the New Zealand flag." And well, he got. I don't know if he was playing along with it or was actually angry that I said it was the New Zealand flag, not the Australian one, because they do look very similar. But I was also tempted to turn around and say when the American part of it, saying it's the Malaysian flag, because if I remember correctly, the Malaysian flag is pretty much very similar to the U.S. flag, except instead of having stars on it, white stars on it, it has a yellow crescent and some yellow stars. I don't know if it still has the blue in the corner. And the red and white stripes, but I'm not sure if the red and white stripes are 13 or not. I would assume not 13, but that's just my assumptions. But yeah, it was actually nice to hang out with people, get to know, you know, but basically turning around and putting a face along with uh, a face with the channel and the channel with the face, and also meeting new people I haven't met before, and that's probably what I'll eventually do. Is I'm not really into Canadian N scale, but take a uh, look at their channels and all that fun stuff. And that's one thing is that I don't really have a spot for stickers. And it's one of those things of probably have to eventually figure out, how to do something with do with the stickers and go from there. But yeah, I'm not touching the bridge tonight because I'm very, very exhausted. And it wasn't because of the train show. It was because of, I'm right now working 50 hours a week trying to get train my new boss, basically what my job is. So I am planning on taking a day off in May off to do something else that has nothing to do with model trains. It has to do with miniatures and all that, but not necessarily model trains, which is automata, which is basically pre-electronic robots, which, it's like, it's one of those things of I'm not quite sure where model trains fits into that because it is, now it's more animatronic, but it's still things that it's sort of imitating life. It's not necessarily live life because the railroads themselves are not alive. It's basically because they're operated by people, but it is still showing more, not directly life, but it is showing the signs of life. All right, 14 stripes with a crescent moon sun for Malaysia. Gotcha. Thank you, Kyle. Yeah, it's one of those things of, if there are times that the red and white stripes have been used on other flags. I think if I'm remembering my history correctly, is that the flag is based off of the East India Company, which had the same similar setup where it had red and white stripes on the one side and a blue in the corner with stars on it. And I think that's what the inspiration was. But then one flag I actually want to get a hold of, and I can almost guarantee if I get this flag, there's going to be some people, oh, that's not a real American flag. And because it has 15 stars and 15 stripes. It was when Vermont and Kentucky were admitted into the Union, and it was that was pretty much that was set up to to figure out, hey, okay, now that we're 15 states, and then they happen to realize that once I forgot what the next state that was admitted in, it's like going like, wait a second, pretty soon we're going to have, can you imagine the United States flag with 50 stripes and 50 stars? You figure out what the 50 stars are, but when you have 50 stripes, that's, from a distance, that's going to look pink. So that's what that's from what I understand why they went back to the 13 stripes to represent the original 13 colonies. And from what I understand, there was a short time that Vermont was for about 10 years. It was its own republic that was not. It was a republic that was recognized by no one. So there's people that have a tendency to not consider the Vermont Republic as legitimate. But people here in Vermont do. They made their own money. They did everything there, you would expect from having an independent country to do. But they weren't recognized. But the interesting thing is that their motto was, I can't say the French spelling on it, but the English translation was the 14th star. Actually, I don't know if it was French or Latin. Not quite sure. But they're for the longest time they were trying to be admitted into the United States, but there was a lot of controversy on that, and I think I want to lean towards the South wanted to keep its control over everything because I guess they were one state ahead, and in order to get Vermont to be allowed to be in, they had to allow Kentucky to be coming in, if I'm remembering correctly. Well, hello there, Russ Rock and Roll over. Thank you for coming in. But all right, it looks like it's time to wander everything down. Get ready for the 200th video of the 200th live stream of Sidetrack Sunday. It's their 200th one. Being hosted tonight by the man who started it all, which is Ray Bobel. All right. Oops. Let's switch cameras first. Again, this is a it's one of those things of because I sit down, you might be able to see it. Maybe I'll wear it next time, maybe not. But this is shirts from the Civil War group that I hang out with. And one of those things of not sure when I'll actually get to a Civil War convention group and all that. Most of the stuff they do is obviously where the war was, so they don't really show up in the Northeast because that's not where the war was. Well, thank you, Kyle. Yes, this is a this is the T-shirt. It's very nice. It's a LL Bean shirt, and then there's also the collared shirt also, which is basically both are embroidered. So these are not gonna wear out anytime soon. It's not like a yeah, I wound up getting a very nice shirt, feels nice and all that, but unfortunately it was screen printed, so all the what was inked on is all falling off. But these are going to be, and probably we'll have to, maybe contact the person on how to. Well, I mean, there's also the other one I was talking about earlier. And it's basically trying to. I have a little artistic. I want to say I'm sort of a novice when it comes to art, and the stuff that I do is artistic, but the thing is, it's not. I want to say it's not optimized. If that makes any sense. It's like I can do something, but can it be optimized for the small little icon for the chat, and then also could it also be useful for something that would be up here or something like that. There's people much better than I that can figure out how to do how to make a logo that would fit all the from the very small little icons for chats to the very large and all that. And that's not Pennsylvania considered the Northeast. I'm not quite sure. If you consider Pennsylvania the Northeast, you would have to probably add in New Jersey and Delaware, because they're both sort of kind of north and east. I would say probably for somebody that's not in the Northeast, if that makes any sense. Because when you talk about upstate New York, where that border is depends on how low you go down. So it keeps the border keeps on moving down lower and lower as the closer you get to New York City. Like if you're up in the Adirondacks, they consider, I think, Kingston as the border. But if you go down to Kingston, they have it much where they people in Kingston consider themselves upstate. It's like and pretty soon, Gettysburg. Oh. I don't know my geography as well as I should. Always above Maryland, sort of like anything above it's like someone not from the Northeast might consider, they have their own definition what the Northeast is. And it's very interesting because one of the interesting things is I just happened to realize that Vermont was part of New York originally. And New York is not considered part of New England, but then when Vermont broke off, it wound up being absorbed into New England because Vermont is considered part of New England. Exactly, Russ. Semantics. It's like potato. The interesting thing is that a northeastern storm actually is going northeast. The reason why they called it a northeastern is because the wind was coming from the northeast. However, they didn't realize that it was sort of a cyclone setup. So the quote eye would be slightly off the coast and all that. So it was constantly going around that way. And so on land, it seemed that the weather was always coming from the north. So a lot of people at that time was assuming that, oh, the storm starts in Maine and then eventually goes all the way down to Georgia. All right, thank you for showing up, John. I'll if you wind up over at Rainbow Bells, I'll see you there then. But at that time, they didn't have like weather balloons and all that. And it wasn't until somebody was getting correspondence between all 13 colonies that, oh, we're having a northeastern, in Georgia. Then it was like in South Carolina. Then it would be in North Carolina. Then Virginia. Then it's like, wait, I'm getting northeasterns, and then it's like, and he's tracking the dates, and then it's like, wait a minute, this is going the somehow going the opposite direction. I think it was Ben Franklin that figured it out, if I'm remembering my history correctly. But it is time. It's now 7:50. It's time to log off for today. So yeah, today is the 200th showing of or live stream of the Sidetrack Sunday. So I'll see everyone there. And as I usually say on my outro, I believe the world needs more love. So find your passion, add some silliness to it, and spread it around.